Hey everybody, it's Jimmy D with Cruise Planners, and I'm just excited to have you here tonight, to talk about the midnight sun, Alaska, and the beauty of summer. And we've got some great special guests with us tonight to talk about this beautiful land, and we're going to learn a lot about the wildlife and the outdoors activities and the festivals and all that is Alaska during the summer. So tonight we're going to talk about our vacation adventure preview. We're going to learn about Alaska and the beauty of summer, as we said. Tia Froehle is with us from Visit Anchorage, and she will be presenting the Anchorage area and all of the outdoor activities that are available during that time of year. Ed Malen, our buddy from Fairbanks, will be around to talk about Fairbanks. We've got a couple of featured itineraries that we'll throw your way. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A and a little wrap up, and we'll go on about our business. But thank you so much for coming tonight. We're really here to talk about this land in the summertime, and the outdoors, the food, the adventures, like helicopter touring on the glaciers and hiking along the glaciers and eating king crab, going on some of these fabulous train rides into the mountains, or watching the glaciers and experiencing those up close and personal. Even the small villages on the southeast side of Alaska that you might visit if you're on a cruise. But all of these things just really speak to adventure and outdoor fun. You know, all of this looks like it's so cold, and it wasn't. When I was there on these particular days, it was like 70 degrees, except the day that everybody's bundled up, and we were in Tracy Arm Fjord up there with the glaciers, and it was pretty darn cold that day. It was probably in the 40s or so, but that was in the middle of June, and that's several hundred miles, maybe 1,000 miles south of where these guys sit on a regular basis. So our special guests tonight, as I said, are Tia Froehle from Visit Anchorage and Ed Malen from Explore Fairbanks. And Tia, without wasting a lot of time, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, let you share yours, and we'll start looking at Anchorage.
Sounds good, Jim. Thank you. Yeah, you guys were bundled up pretty well in those pictures, but like we always say, dress in layers when you come to Alaska, because one day it could be in the 60s and the next day it could be in the 90s. So it really does happen here in Alaska with those different variants of weather. Today I'm looking outside my office window and it's a beautiful sunny day. I think we're hitting about 68 degrees. So not too bad for July. But again, July is normally our warmest month, and we normally hit in the 80s sometimes too. But I like this nice 68-degree weather. It's perfect. So again, welcome. We're going to talk about Anchorage and under the land of the midnight sun. So it's a very special thing that Ed and I get to experience living here in Alaska, is all the sunlight that we get, which I always call playlight, because we play really hard in the summer, and I say we sleep a little bit more like the bears in the wintertime. But let's go about talking what you can do when you come here. So again, my name is Tia Froehle, lifelong Alaskan, that I absolutely have a passion for the state I live in the hometown of Anchorage that I've lived in for many, many years. I won't say how many, but I did just celebrate a big birthday this weekend. That's why my voice is a little hoarse. But anywhere from fishing to hiking on our glaciers, to getting on our trail systems, to eating the amazing food and culinary scene that we have here in Anchorage, to washing it down with a great pint of our Alaska craft beer that we have here. So I've been with Visit Anchorage now for I just passed 8 years. So I truly say I have one of the best jobs in the world, because I get to just promote my beautiful hometown. So Anchorage is kind of the urban and wild, like we like to call it. And Visit Anchorage is just here to help you have the resources you need to make sure you get that right trip from your travel advisors, which all the travel advisors here today are amazing. And you should always use a travel advisor when coming to Alaska, because it is so big. So yes, yay. And then when you are here, we're here to be your local contacts. So we run the visitor information centers at the airport and in downtown. This is our very iconic log cabin that is right on downtown on the corner of 4th and F. This is the hub of all day tours, all shuttle services. But then it's just spectacular to go in and talk to one of our volunteers that work inside, because they are anywhere from dog mushers to retired school teachers to those that worked in the tourism industry to high school and college kids studying the tourism industry. So I always say, make sure to stop in. There are fabulous people to talk to, whether you need to find the closest grocery store, or maybe you're looking for some fresh seafood that night. They have the different menus. Plus they have all that shuttle schedule information there. And you can see right now under the midnight sun, our municipality plants a ton of flowers here. About 80,000 flowers get planted in the summer. So with all this daylight that we get, our flowers just bloom. I was out walking today and I saw so many people just taking pictures because it is just breathtaking. So I would say stop and smell the flowers where you're in downtown, because they are spectacular.
Can I just say that on my first trip to Alaska, that was the thing that caught me off guard, was how deep the colors are in all of the vegetation and the flowers. They are incredibly bright.
They are, and they're not just the ones that we plant. There's also a ton of wildflowers that we have here too. So constantly looking for lupin or the fireweed. So yeah, lots of beautiful flowers. So when we talk about regions of Alaska, it's always best to show a map. There's 5 different regions, and I'm going to focus on Anchorage and South Central Alaska, which is that green area. And then I'm going to pass it up to my friend up north, to Ed, and he's going to cover that and maybe even talk a little bit about the Arctic as well, because that's pretty cool to see under the midnight sun, because that is truly where the sun does not set. So, all right, so let's talk about time and daylight and temperatures. So again, December, that is going to be our darkest and month of every month here. So we still have 5.5 hours here in Anchorage, but we're talking about the midnight sun. So the midnight sun, summer solstice actually happens in June. So that's going to be June 20th, 21st, 22nd. It kind of changes every so often, but that's when we get 22 hours of daylight here in Anchorage. So the sun's up for about 20 of those hours, but then we get that civil twilight on each side. So it's up for that daylight of 22 hours. And again, as you head north, you're going to get a little bit more of that sunlight. And it's just amazing how the difference between Anchorage and Fairbanks, not only for gaining hours of daylight and losing them for the darkness skies that we get, but also for the weather. So they tend to get a little bit warmer than us. So Fairbanks will get actually up into the hundreds, where we'll see maybe the upper 80s at best. But like I said, dress in layers when you come here, because you just never know what that day is going to bring. And here's that beautiful city of Anchorage I was talking about. I love this photo because you can just see so much on it. You see the whole downtown area. You can see that we're a waterfront city right now. The tide is out. We have huge tidal changes here. So that water will come right up to that face of our city. You can see in the background here, you can see my cursor. That is our Anchorage airport. So you can see it's not too far away from downtown Anchorage. This is downtown. And when we talk about Anchorage, we talk about downtown. We talk about Midtown, and that's where our airport is. We have hotels that are literally within 1 mile from our airport. And then South Anchorage, as you're heading towards the Turnagain Arm. So you can see the Turnagain Arm in the background here too, because that Cook Inlet comes to the face and then it hugs us by 2 different arms. The one to the south is the Turnagain Arm, and the one to the north is the Knik Arm. And then over there, the very top of the screen, that is the Kenai Peninsula. So I thought a super cool photo to just kind of show our city. We do give acknowledgement to the first people of Alaska and the land that we live in. So we are on Dena'ina Athabascan land here in the municipality of Anchorage. Like I mentioned, I pointed out our Ted Stevens International Airport. That is our main airport for flying into Anchorage. Our next largest one would be up in Fairbanks, and it's a great combination to either fly into one and fly out of the other, so you don't do much backtracking. And both of us have increased a lot of our airlift for this summer. So it's amazing how much airlift we have coming into both of our cities. I always give an insider tip when you're flying into Anchorage: be on the A, B, or C side of the plane. And then when you depart Anchorage, be on the D, E, and F, because of how you come into our airport and where you see the whole city and all the mountains. And on a clear day, you can see Mount Denali as you fly in. So And then you pick a great hotel. We have a wide variety of hotels in the downtown or midtown or South Anchorage area, anywhere from boutique to bed and breakfasts to chain, the Hiltons, the Marriotts, or we have a unique Alaskan-owned hotels. This is called the Lakefront Hotel. And this one's right by our airport because it's right on Lake Hood. And Lake Hood is the busiest seaplane airport in the world. It's controlled by the same tower as our airport. So what a cool place, a cool hotel to stay at. And it's really lodge filling inside. So it has all the Alaska animals all over when you first walk into it. So again, lots of variety for hotel accommodations here. And once you get here, we know you want to try our culinary scene. We're a very diverse city. We have 3 high schools that speak over 100 different languages. So with that, we have just the amazing dining cuisines here. But of course, when you come here, it's all about the fresh Alaska salmon and seafood, such as this salmon right here. I always say, try it. The salmon tastes different here in Alaska because it's wild, fresh, wild caught. And then of course, you got to try those crab legs. I call these the sexy things. You got to try it. It'll melt in your mouth. You dip it in the butter and it is spectacular. And then a lot of our restaurants, such as the one you're seeing here, is called 49th State. It's one of our breweries in downtown Anchorage. A lot of outdoor seating, so you can sit under the midnight sun. This picture was taken at 9 p.m. So you can see that the sun has not even come across the mountains yet. And on a clear day from this deck, you could actually see Mount Denali as well. So, and then our iconic Mount Susitna is the mountain in the background there. But I know a lot of people think we live in igloos. We don't. But because of what happened last year, I'm sure you guys might have them in the states that you live in, but we have the igloos now that you can dine in. And so a lot of our restaurants bought these igloos, which I think we should have had these way before the pandemic, because how cool is it to come to Alaska, sit in an igloo and have a dinner? So truly magical. And a lot of our restaurants did buy these. So super fun. Or if you're on the run in between tours and you want to try a reindeer sausage, yes, it is okay to eat reindeer sausages here. Reindeer is just a domesticated caribou, but you'll see this is downtown Anchorage and you'll see these umbrellas all over downtown. I think there's about 7 of these hot dog carts. They can go try one of our delicious reindeer dogs. So this yellow one is actually called Tia's. I don't own it, but it happens to be right outside my office, so it's pretty funny, but I go say hi to them every day. And then if you're looking for a unique Alaska cocktail, we do have 2 distilleries here in Anchorage, so we can, you know, maybe shake you up a cool gin and tonic, or maybe you want to go over to Tequila 61 and do one of these variety of different margaritas. So really great cocktail options. We also have a cidery called Double Shovel. And of course, I mentioned those craft beers. So we have about 13 breweries here, which I know compared to other places in the world, that's not a lot, but it's pretty special for us because we have a special ingredient that goes into our beer. Because our tap water actually comes from a glacier. So that tap water also goes into our beer. So there's a little bit of glacier water in each of our craft beers. And look at that. There's one called the Midnight Sun Brewery. How appropriate is that? And then we have this really cool art scene here as well. So we have all these different murals in and around the downtown Anchorage area. So you can go and have a fun photo shoot one day, or like tonight, the museum, you can ride bikes with them tonight and they actually drive, or you bike around to the different murals and take fun photos at as well. This is actually on a side of a Connex, which is on the side of a coffee cart. So we drink a lot of coffee up here. Per capita, we drink the most. And we eat the most ice cream. So it's kind of fun facts about us Alaskans. We love to stay caffeinated and eat our ice cream, but this is one on one of our coffee carts. And a lot of them are locally owned and operated, not the big chain coffee places. And then we do have a beautiful little map on our website. So if you are interested in learning about the public art and some of the statues that we have in the Anchorage area, go to our website, anchorage.net, and you can download that great map. And then when you come to Anchorage, we know you want to meet the first people of Alaska and learn a little bit of history of our young city. So I always say, do a trolley ride first. It's a really fun, informative 50-minute tour that really gives you a good idea of how we started as a city. You know, we were a tent city when the Alaska Railroad came in here. You go by Earthquake Park, the big 64 earthquake, you can actually still see the waves in the land. And then you actually go by that seaplane airport that I mentioned at Lake Hood. And you're always looking for moose when you're out there. I think last year they spotted on their tours, I think they said 290 moose. So always looking for those moose. And then head over to our Anchorage Museum. This is a beautiful facility in downtown Anchorage. They can really understand the first people of Alaska. I love the Smithsonian Arctic Studies. It has over 600 objects that date back to the 1800s. And you can learn how they lived off the land and made everything to do so. And then there's the Alaska exhibit. This has just been remodeled, I think like 2 years ago, and it has 13 different themes that reflect the essential aspects of living in Alaska and its people. There's a lot of touch exhibits, touch and learn, and I think it's super fascinating for people of all ages to really get a grasp of Alaska. And that's just 2 of them. There's rotating ones. They do stuff out on their lawn in the summertime as well. There's always food carts on Thursday. There's music in the park there too. So always check out Anchorage Museum to see what's happening. And then head over to the Alaska Native Heritage Center. This is over 200 acres, again, on Athabascan land here. And you can really get to meet the first people of Alaska, hear their stories, and just kind of feel that heartbeat of our Indigenous people. They have different programs that happen at their gathering place. So they'll do their native games like you see here. And it's all about, you know, the power, the balance, and the focus of the sports that they do. They'll do the dancing, and you can actually get up there and dance with them. Or you can go around the corner and listen to a story from one of the elders. It's an amazing place to really interact with them. And then head outside, and then there's the village sites. So those different 5 regions of Alaska, they have the village sites that represent each region, and you can see how their houses are built differently depending on what region you live in, how they hunt, how they live, how their landscape looks compared to other regions. So again, and you always get to meet someone from that region out at the village sites. Also, we know when you come to Alaska, you need some type of glacier adventure. And then I say, what kind of glacier adventure do you want to do? You could maybe fly over a glacier, such as this one. This is Knik Glacier. You can actually, outside of Girdwood, you can go land on Punch Bowl Glacier, and you actually can sip that glacier water. And they actually have a dog sled team, so you can do some dog sledding on the glacier if you'd like. And you can get these really fun, cool photos on a glacier by walking on with your crampons and going on a trek on one. Or you can just do an afternoon walk and do these overlooks to one. If this couple was to continue, they can actually walk and kind of see the trail right here. It can go up to the face of Portage Glacier. So we have 60 glaciers within a 50-mile radius of Anchorage. So many different ways to explore them. Even like kayaking. This is kayaking up to Spencer Glacier. And the only way to get to Spencer Glacier is by the Alaska Railroad. So I always say it's feeling like you're getting off the grid, that no one else can get there except if you went there on the Alaska Railroad. And then probably the most popular way to see the glaciers here in South Central Alaska is by a day boat cruise. We have 2 different spots that people do day boat cruises out of. This is out of Whittier, and they always say it's prettier in Whittier. And you get out into Prince William Sound, and Prince William Sound is one of the most glacier-fed sounds in the world. So this cruise right here, in 5.5 hours, you'll see 26 different glaciers. And it's really cool to get right up close and intimate with those glaciers. They'll take that ice chunks and make you a glacier margarita, and you're just blown away by the beauty of Prince William Sound. Plus, it's very calm. So if you are worried about any type of seasickness, definitely do your glacier cruise out of Prince William Sound. The other place is out of Seward, which is a little bit further south from Anchorage, and Seward has Kenai Fjords National Park, so one of our national parks. You can check that off your bucket list of getting into a national park. You're still going to go see the glaciers, but you're getting a little bit more marine life. You'll still see some of these marine life in Whittier, but you really see it out of Seward is the whales. So lots of good whale activity there. Of course, you got to see otters in both places, sea lions. You're looking for puffins and your eagles. So really that marine wildlife of Alaska. And it leads me right into wildlife. We're constantly looking for wildlife in and around the Anchorage area. We have about 1,500 moose that live that we call resident moose. So whether you're out on a trail, such as in the Chugach Mountain Range, or just on some of our bike trails, you are constantly looking for them. And if you want to come at the end of June and the beginning, or the end of May and the beginning of June, that is when these little babies are born. So most moose have their first birth as just one calf. And then after that, they tend to have twins and triplets from there on out. If a mom moose lives their whole life, they can have up to 70 calves.
Wow.
Wow.
So
I'm a
yeah,
mama too, and that is enough for me.
so are they aggressive animals or no?
They really aren't, unless the only way they really get aggressive is if you get between their babies and mama. So, and you always look for the ears and the scruff on the back of their neck, because if their ears go back and that neck hair comes up, they're looking to charge. And so I always say, make sure to go on our trails with someone slower than you. Just joking. Actually, you hide behind a tree. So, but I mean, for the most part, there's so many locals on the trails, and everyone's warning. If someone shows you, like, gives you the little moose sign, that means like there's a moose coming up. So, we're very aware of them, and guaranteed, if you don't see them, they definitely have seen you, and they like to get away. We're also looking for lots of bears in and around the Anchorage area and on our trails. Guaranteed Wildlife, of course, is the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, beautiful 200 acres for injured and orphaned animals. They have this great bear walk. You get amazing photos of bears. There's 3 grizzlies on one side and 3 blacks on the other, on top of all the other Alaska animals that are here only because they were injured and orphaned in the wild. We also have the Alaska Zoo, which is about 26 acres on our hillside here. It's more of a borealis setting. They have a polar bear there. So if you want to see a polar bear, definitely check out our Alaska Zoo, and you can do behind the scenes. They have a really fun new program where you can actually walk with these 2 goats around the zoo. So they say you get the animal's eyes of the zoo. So a lot of fun activities happening there. And those are usually subarctic to Arctic animals, and all mainly Alaskan animals, but you saw that the tiger that's there too. So, and then again, active adventure. That is what coming to Alaska is about, and it's mild to wild. So everyone will find their adventure, whether it's just walking out under the midnight sun at 9 o'clock after a beautiful dinner, or it's taking a kayak or a raft or a bike out at a Klutna, which is one of our huge outdoor local areas to play in. Then we know when you come here, you want to go fishing. We have Ship Creek, which is right in downtown Anchorage. So the salmon are running right now. So you can actually just come and catch your salmon right here in downtown Anchorage, and they'll help you ship it home, and you have bragging rights to your friends. And we are an award-winning trailside city. So we have over 135 multi-use trail systems. So whether you want to go hike to one of our many peaks, or this is that Tony Knowles Coastal Trail from downtown Anchorage. You just want to rent a bike after dinner and work off some of those calories from eating all that food that we have here. And these are e-bikes, so you don't even have to pedal as hard. So we make it easy. So like I said, there's a little something for everyone on that activity level. And I like this one because if you trace this blue outline, that looks like a moose head. So this is called the Moose Loop. So you can do any parts of the trails, and on our trails, you're also learning about what land you're on, and these are the Dena'ina names that are listed on our signs. So a little history that you can learn. We also have 224 parks in the municipality of Anchorage. So this is a great place to bring kids to, because you can run them under that fresh air, the midnight sun, and they will sleep really good. So lots of really fun parks for them to play. And if you are here in August, most of our trails are covered with these beautiful blueberries. So bring a little baggie with you, because you'll definitely want to pick them or eat them along the way. Also, did you know we have golf courses here in Alaska? A lot of people are surprised, which is also a fun way to kick off the midnight sun, is that you can tee off as late as 10 p.m. That's right. Your last time you can tee off is 10 p.m. And I always say, then you can go back and tell your friends, oh man, golfing in Alaska is so hard. It took me 2 days to finish one round of golf. But we get also a ton of wildlife on our golf courses. I love to golf, and I was just at once called Moose Run, go figure. And because you see moose and black bear all the time. I do have a picture of a black bear shaking one of the tees right before I was gonna tee off. So pretty funny. And like I mentioned, to get to some amazing places in Alaska, we don't have a wide variety of road systems here. It's just best to go by air. That is why we're one of the busiest seaplane airports in the world. So whether you just want to do like an hour tour of just seeing glaciers, wildlife in the city, or what's more popular is getting out to our national parks. The best way to get to our national parks from Anchorage, you can visit 5 of them from Anchorage, is by seaplane. So the first 2, which are really hot right now, best bear viewing is July and August. So you either go to Katmai over here in the Southwest or Lake Clark. Depending on what month you come, we'll send you to what national park. So it's a great way to see them out in their their beautiful surrounding country. And then I won't talk too much about Denali National Park because you do want to send your clients there. Ed's going to cover that. But if they need to see it and they don't have enough time from Anchorage, they have to fly up and over and around. And it's about 3-hour flight scene from Anchorage to actually go around Mount Denali. And then, of course, over here is Wrangell St. Elias National Park. It is a glacier-fed park. It is the largest national park we have, not only in Alaska, but in the U.S. It can fit 6 different Yellowstones in it, so pretty amazing.
Oh,
Of course,
wow.
Kenai Fjords National Park, which we talked about earlier. And real quick, just we have events happening all the time during the summer. Every day of the week, there is something going on here. Today is Thursday, so it's live after 5 in our town square. So we have a local band that plays every Thursday. We have a social event that happens every Sunday where they close down a couple of our streets, and they have different local artists and vendors. So again, on our website, check out our events page. Some of our more popular one, of course, is our Summer Solstice Festival that happens in June, which leads into our Anchorage Mayor's Marathon. So if you are a runner, there's a 5K, a 10K, or the whole marathon here for you. We have, of course, we celebrate 4th of July. You can't quite see the fireworks so much, but it's still a really fun activity to do here. And in July, we also have the Forest Fair and Bear Paw Festivals, and they always have quirky little events that's like this one, where you have to do the Olympics holding a slippery frozen salmon. So fun little Alaska, unique ways to do it. And then it leads us up into the State Fair, which is in August. It is happening this year. It kicks off August 20th, and it goes all the way through Labor Day. Fun, great local fair that we offer. So with that, I say thank you. This is just a sample of some of the things that you can do here under the midnight sun. Now we're going to kick it up to Fairbanks and Ed to see how you can continue that itinerary and enjoy what we have to offer here. So Ed, take it away.
Thanks, Tia.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and just get this thing started up real quick. And here we go. Welcome everyone again. Thanks for coming. I'm Ed Malen, Tourism Senior Sales Manager with Explore Fairbanks. I'm born and raised here in Fairbanks. I was actually grown up in the city of North Pole, which is about a 15-minute drive away from Fairbanks proper. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. But I graduated from the University of Alaska Fairbanks with a degree in Japanese Studies, minor in Asian Studies, and have been with Explore Fairbanks for over 10.5 years now. So 10 years plus and going strong. Real quick touch on the most recent COVID updates. We are vaccinating, we are open. You do not need to have any tests to come in. There are no mandates for traveling into Alaska. So as long as you're feeling good enough to come up here, we'd be more than happy to have you. And of course, we typically identify 3 seasons in Alaska. And we're a little special that way, we just do. And today, of course, we're going to be focusing mostly on that midnight sun season, which is April 22nd, but through roughly August 20th. This photo was taken right about midnight on the summer solstice. So unlike further south, as Tia had mentioned, the further north you go, the more prevalent the midnight sun becomes. We have about 72 days throughout each summer, throughout each year, which the sun does not set. It basically scrapes the top of the mountains and just keeps circling around the sky. And as you go above the Arctic Circle or above the equinox, the sun will literally just spin in the sky and never goes down. I think the further north you go, the most you'll see is maybe 2.5 months of perpetual daylight. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty awesome. And again, for the temperatures, right now it's about 80 degrees in Fairbanks. But as you can see in the sunlight, this is at my parents' place out in North Pole. The sun's been beating on it for a minute, so it's over 100 degrees. But I think that day in particular was about 87 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take a degree or two. And again, Fairbanks located in the interior. We consider ourselves the golden heart of Alaska for a number of reasons, one of which we're a gold rush town. We also, and you'll see this in a lot of Alaska, this is the golden hearts of Alaska. A lot of Alaskans you'll meet are just the friendliest people you're going to see on the roads and whatnot. And of course, geographically speaking, we're about where you would logically think a heart would be in Alaska if you were to personify it into a living, breathing being. So those are our 3 little plugs. Again, we do have the Fairbanks International Airport and a good amount of airlift this year. This summer saw a couple of new flights from Sun Country Air, some new connections through United and American. Usually Anchorage and Fairbanks enjoy direct flights from Condor Air. Unfortunately, with the travel mandates internationally, we'll have to wait 1 more year to welcome our European guests back into Alaska. This is the sprawling metropolis of downtown Fairbanks, the Fairbanks North Star Borough, which is home to about 100,000 people. And we live in roughly an area roughly the size of the state of New Jersey, which I always love throwing out there just because we're so large in Alaska. Alaska is just a massive area and a massive place. Right now, I'm sitting in the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center, which is our main visitor center right on the outskirts of downtown. Open open 7 days a week. We're only closed for major holidays and open 8 to 5. We're free to enter in, 10,000 square foot interpretive exhibit. We also have the Alaska Public Lands Information Center, which are able to answer your questions about going into the national parks, how to safely traverse the national parks, the do's and do nots of the national parks. And we also have a lot of native culture and a lot of visitor information for people who just show up and have no plans, just want to come out and see Alaska and enjoy. How do you get around? Well, a lot of people like to rent their RVs and travel around. That way you have a nice little personal space to kind of hang out in no matter where you go. We also do have rental cars and other rental agencies that can get you to and from. And of course, you have the traditional tour and tour bus packages and shuttles that get you to and from. And let's not forget the Alaska Railroad, which connects Fairbanks all the way down to Anchorage and beyond, all the way down into Seward. Just so you know that this is it's a slow-moving scenic train. If you're doing this for transportation, know that there might be a little bit of a delay here and there, as they still do flag stops, picking people up on the rail as they need to get to and from. And it's 12 hours between Fairbanks and Anchorage, and they do have daily departures usually. This year it's a little bit different, where they have some days that they'll go north, some days they'll go south, and in the wintertime they do have limited operations as well, typically heading north on Saturday and then south on Sunday. And then later in February and March, they do have some limited connectivity as well. But for more information on that, you'll need to see our winter presentation that we did a little bit earlier on. And so this is the Golden Heart Plaza, which is right in downtown Fairbanks. It's really located really close to hotels, restaurants, shopping, and live performances this time of year. We're also, actually, as you can see here, we do have the Chena River that cuts Fairbanks directly in half. So we have a number of river activities and tours. So you can go out on a riverboat, a stern wheeler. You can even go out and rent your own kayaks and canoes and paddle boards. And it's a very slow moving, easy to traverse river. It is a lot of fun to get out and about, especially if you're into those outdoor adventures. As I mentioned before, that we do have gold panning as a very strong part of our history here. Back in 1902, a fellow by the name of Felix Pedro found some gold about 20 miles north of Alaska, where I'm sitting right now. And to keep up with that tradition, we do have a number of gold panning tours. And the greatest thing about this is that when you find the gold in those gold panning tours, whatever gold you find, you get to take them home with you and take home a piece of actual Alaskan gold. Bragging rights don't get much better than that. I can think of a couple things. We might touch on those a little bit later as well. And as Tia mentioned before, Alaskan Native culture is prevalent all throughout the state. And we do have a number of different Native, communities. So depending on which region you live in, your culture is going to be slightly different. Your language is going to be different. The way that you live in those areas. If you're living on the ocean, it's mostly catching fish and hunting seals and whales, whereas inland, it's all about hunting and trapping animals on the ground and through the rivers and such. So there are all sorts of really neat events that happen throughout the year. We used to have programs before COVID, and we're hoping that they'll come back again. But this year, we are very happy to welcome the return of the World Eskimo Indian Olympics. Tia had a photo of actually, I think I have one too, very similar, of them balancing and doing these really neat little kicks and touches. Basically, these things are, they demonstrate the physical strength, endurance, and focus that usually leads to success in living in the bush, off of the road system, off the grid, because you need to have mental sharpness as well as physical strength in order to survive and prosper out in the wilds of Alaska. And of course, if you're into more of the informational and educational, we have museums and all sorts of different neat little exhibits for you to check out. We have an antique auto museum with autos from 1898 all the way into the 1930s. We have a museum that is completely built of ice. the walls, the chairs. They even make a glass out of ice, and you can drink your appletini out of an ice glass.
Mhm.
It's kind of a tradition of us. After you get out of that tour, you throw the glass in the air, make a wish before it hits the ground. They don't typically come true, but it's a lot of fun to watch that glass shatter because it is just ice. It's going to melt and go away anyway. And I also mentioned that we are very close to a city, the city, not geographic location, but the city of North Pole, home to about 2,200 people. And it's about 15-minute drive away from Fairbanks proper. Yes, we do have the Santa Claus house, and yes, Santa's reindeer are just across the parking lot, one of the few places in the world that you can get a selfie with the reindeer. We also have a couple of other locations around town where you can go out and actually walk with the reindeer, become part of the herd, which is an awful lot of fun. And one of my favorite facts to talk about my hometown of North Pole is if you go to the City of North Pole's website, you will see that we indeed have a fella by the name of Santa Claus on our city council. Yes, that is his legal name, Santa Claus. I believe he was elected on a write-in ballot about 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4 or 5 years ago now. It is just so amazing that, this is where we live. This is how we do. It's a lot of fun. And of course, dog sledding is the official state sport of Alaska because in the early 1900s and even the late 1800s, there were no roads. The only way to get to and from village to village, place to place, was with your trusty dog sled team in the winter or the riverboats during the summer. However, even in the summertime, especially this time of year as we get into August and the later part of the summer when the temperatures start to go down, it is safe for those dogs to start running tours. So it is possible to do dog sledding tours in the summer if you don't want to come and brave it in the winter. And as Tia mentioned, moose. Moose is probably one of the most common animals that you'll see as you're traveling around. And typically they're pretty casual, they're pretty chill, as long as there are no babies around. If you have babies, mom is going to protect those babies with all her might, leave them be. There's no reason to go up and touch them or mess with them. Get your photo, enjoy the nature, and we can all get on with what we're doing. And of course, we also have migratory fowl that will travel from the south, as far south as Mexico, all the way up into the Arctic for their annual trip. We do have this place called Creamer's Field, where we actually put a bunch of food down there for them so that they know that they have a rest stop to rest, eat, and get ready to go a little bit further north in the Arctic Circle. This is twofold. One, it gives them a place to hang out and chill and rest up so that they remain nice and healthy, but this also diverts them from the airport, which is the Fairbanks International Airport, and the airstrips that we have on the military bases up here to make sure that all of our planes and everything in the air does not encounter these huge flocks of birds that migrate twice a year. I love it because the very beginning of the summer, you hear them coming in. It's like, yay, summer is here. But once towards the end of August, you hear them again. It's like, I guess winter's right around the corner. You almost set your watch by them. It's pretty fun. And they're really nice and majestic to watch as well, especially when you see 100, 200 of them just kind of sitting there chilling, doing their thing. And if you drive 15 minutes in any direction from Fairbanks, you can be out in the middle of nowhere. You can be out, excuse me, pristine wilderness where there's very few other people. You can go out camping, hiking, or even just going to check it out and getting your photos. It is amazing what you can do. Excuse me. Excuse me. It's very amazing what you can do just outside 15 minutes of Fairbanks. Fairbanks is also very close to Denali National Park. It's about a 2.5-hour drive or a 4.5-hour ride on the Alaska Railroad. It is open from mid-May to about mid-September. This year it'll be a little bit earlier because we have a lack of cruise ships coming through. Hopefully next year that will change. Close enough to wood, I suppose. But the Denali National Park is one of those places that people want to check off their list. But then again, on a good day, it's only about 33% of the year, the mountain will come out in all of its glory. Excuse me. This is a photo of the canyon, which is basically, excuse me, a little smoky right here. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Mobile. Okay, so we have the Denali Canyon that has all the restaurants and the shopping, all those little gift shops if you want to get those Alaska t-shirts or a lot of those just little funny gag gifts that you can take home and bring home with your friends. And I actually have this neat little overlay here. This was taken from the top of one of my favorite hiking areas called Mount Healy. It takes about an hour and a half to get up. It's an 8-mile round trip, about a 1,400-foot elevation change. But once you get up to the top, as you can see the entire canyon of Denali proper. So this is the canyon over here with all the shopping. You have some of the hotels up here. You have a couple other hotels nestled up in top of the woods. And a little bit further down the road, maybe a mile, mile and a half down the road, is the actual access for Denali National Park. Now, when you go into Denali National Park, one of the must-dos is to go into the proper park, which is a little bit further down than the actual canyon that I just showed you. And there are two main ways of doing this. One is by taking a Denali shuttle, which is this green bus that you see right behind here. Now, the shuttle is technically not a tour. It's not supposedly narrated, except for usually the drivers have been doing it for a while, and they love to share everything they know about Denali, the area, and everything that they've experienced while they're out and about. The thing about the shuttle is you can hop off pretty much wherever you want, go out hiking, go out camping, do whatever you want, and when you're ready to come back in, find your way back to the road, find a shuttle heading back towards the entrance, and you can hitch a ride back into the park. As opposed to a tundra wilderness tour, which is a proper tour. It's about 8 hours round trip, 4 hours in, about 4 hours back. And that is completely narrated. And the whole thing about this tour is to see the big five. The big five being, of course, moose, grizzly bears, caribou, wolf, and Dall's sheep. Dall's sheep was the actual reason that the park was established to begin with. It was actually established as a preserve to save the Dall sheep population way back when. I believe it was in their mid 50s, early 60s, I want to say that legislation was passed. And of course, you see little critters. One year we actually went in, I think we saw close to like 12 to 13 bear just wandering around. They can be, big mama bear, big daddy bear, and then just little mini bear. And don't let them fool you. They may be cute, but they're still bears. They're still wild animals. Make sure you respect their distance, respect that they are, in fact, wild animals, and we can all just get on with our lives. And once you get into Denali, you do the park and you want to spend another day or two, plenty of things to see and do in there. We have zip lining tours, jeep tours, where you actually hop in the jeep and you'll caravan 10 to 15 jeeps along the Denali highway. You can do flight seeing tours, landing, ATV tours. But one of my personal favorite tours is the rafting tours that they do. They do have some whitewater rafting tours out there. You can see a little shameless self-promotion. I'm a little bit more towards the end of the summer. I usually let my neck sweater grow out a little bit more to keep me warm as the temperatures start to drop. But basically, it tosses you in a dry suit, and then you hit the rapids. You can either paddle yourself or just hold on and let the guide paddle you. But again, it's just one of my favorite things to do because it just feels so Alaskan, because it is a glacier-fed river, the Nenana Glacier to be exact. And, it is a little bit chilly, but it's an awful lot of fun as well.
So, Ed, are we able to rent the gear for those kinds of things?
Yes, for that particular, for this one here, it's an actual tour, a rafting tour. So basically, you check in, you sign the waiver saying, if something happens, you're not at fault. They put you in the dry suit. They give you the life preserver, the helmet, and the paddles if you happen to be paddling. So everything is outfitted. Basically, all you have to do is pay for the tour, show up, and they will make sure that you do the rest and have a good time. And they also do of course, that's where these photos came from. They'll take the photos, and you can buy the little jump stick with all your photos on it if they came out really well. I like doing it just because it's kind of bragging rights. I've probably done it 2-3 dozen times, and I'll always get at least one of those photos just because. And we're also the gateway to the Arctic. It always surprises me that about 2%, less than 3% of the people who travel up to Fairbanks actually extend their trip to go above the Arctic Circle. Again, a little bit of shameless self-promotion. This is maybe a 6 years younger Ed, give or take, lying down on that tarp there. And again, there's many different ways to do the Arctic Circle. One of which is taking, this one was on a drive tour. But basically, the Arctic Circle is a very special place. First and foremost, it is a gravel road, and most of the typical rental agencies do not allow you to drive their vehicles on this road because it is kind of hazardous. And by hazardous, I mean, after you leave Fairbanks, there are only 3 places that have full services, and that's gas, food, emergency, any services whatsoever. Everything in beyond that, there is absolutely nothing except for the vast Alaska wilderness. So to give you an idea, from Fairbanks up to Coldfoot, I believe is a 10 to 12 hour drive, to give you an idea of the scope of what we're looking at right here.
Wow.
So if you're not going to drive it yourself, there are also flying tours where you can hop in a little Navajo Piper Chieftain, 9 passengers with a pilot up front to get you to and from. And again, the tours that you take and the different adventures that you invest in will differ depending on how much time you want to spend into it. You can fly up and then drive back. You can drive all the way up and drive all the way back, or just fly up and then fly back on the same day, ranging from anywhere from 5 hours to overnights. You can actually spend time overnighting over there. Again, more information on that, you should go and check out our winter video that we've already done. And they also do village tours. This was actually in Fort Yukon. We had a group of people that went out there. We were met by a nice gentleman who lives in Fort Yukon, and they drove us around their village. This is where we get our electricity. This is where we get our water. That's our school with all 5 students, and they all do their classes all together. It's a really neat way to step away from everything that you know and seeing places that have been for hundreds, if not thousands of years. It is surreal to do some of these tours and these activities. Another great thing about this is if you take a tour, they'll typically have a certificate that they'll give to you at the very, very end to say, job well done, you made it to the Arctic Circle and back. If you happen to do it on your own, swing by the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center. We do offer those also free of charge. And just gives us a little bit of a plug into our Aurora season, because as the midnight sun starts to dwindle and fade, that is the advent of our Aurora season, which is August 21st to April 21st. Again, a little bit more information, you'll need to check out our winter version of this video. And we're here to help. If you want more information, we have visitor guides, we have maps. ExploreFairbanks.com has a plethora of information as well. FairbanksPhotos.com have free photos for download for marketing uses only. Please do not slap those on mugs and sell them. That's not good. Please don't do that. And we also have social media channels that we always encourage you to follow. Facebook and Instagram, we're very, very active, and we have some really neat videos on YouTube. I had one in the last video. For time's sake, I didn't add it, but we have videos that are 360, where you can actually look in all the way around you. You could be in a dog sled, you could be on the river, you could be looking at the northern lights or the midnight sun. So we do have all sorts of neat stuff online to check out. And again, I can always be reached if you have any other questions I may help you with. That email at explorefairbanks.com. Jimmy D and everyone showing up, we're very glad that you take the time to listen to us chat at you, and thank you so very much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, lots to see.
Guys, you did a great job. And
Lots to eat.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know,
I totally forgot. There was one other thing I forgot. Tia mentioned the fair. I'm sorry, but she mentioned that the Alaska State Fair. There was a fun thing I wanted to share with you, is that with this midnight sun, the flowers and the vegetables grow very, very big and very, very, very rapidly. And just in 2019, the largest pumpkin, the record for the largest pumpkin record was broken. The record in 2019 was 2,051 pounds for a pumpkin. And in 2012, the record cabbage was weighed in at 138.25 pounds.
Wow.
Just to give you a scope of how much the sun affects us up here in Fairbanks and Anchorage.
well, even in those photos that you guys were showing, you could just see the depth of the colors that were there. And I mean, that's, as I said, that's the first thing that just blew me away on my first visit. And I've never forgotten that. Hey, thank you guys for that. You guys do such a great job. And, I just don't believe you can watch the presentation that you guys do and then not want to jump in an airplane and head to Anchorage and to Fairbanks to spend some time. And we have curated a couple of itineraries that we're offering up. One is a 6-day itinerary. The other is an 8-night or an 8-day itinerary. And on the 8-day, we begin in Anchorage. We provide luggage tags to help you keep your luggage together while you're there. A representative will greet you in the baggage claim area at the airport and transfer you to your hotel. Day 2, we go Anchorage to Denali. We have breakfast at the hotel in the morning, and then we all come together, all the travelers in this group, and we'll have breakfast and then hop a motor coach up to Denali National Park, and we'll have a welcome dinner that night. On day 3, we have the Denali National Park sightseeing. It's a pretty deep trip back into Denali National Park. You know, this mountain rises to over 20,000 feet. As Ed said, it's the highest peak in North America. This is a guided tour, so you'll have a director, and in the afternoon, you've got time for exploring the area around the park, or you can take an optional tour from there. Day 4, Denali down to Talkeetna. We'll have breakfast at the inn, and then we'll ride the rail south on the deluxe dome rail cars, looking out the window for the Big Five, as Ed talks about. It's about a 4-hour trip, 150 miles south. And then on day 5, we go from Talkeetna to Seward. We'll do a motor coach ride down to Seward from Talkeetna. It's on the Parks Highway past Anchorage, then to the Seward Highway, designated as the scenic byway. They do a lot of stops along the way, so you can take pictures and really see the sights. Day 6, we do Seward exploration and the Kenai Fjords tour. We have breakfast that morning. Breakfast and lunch both are included, and we depart on a cruise into Resurrection Bay, and then Kenai, easy for me to say. Kenai Fjords National Park to experience the wilderness. On day 7, we go Seward to Anchorage, and we have a big farewell dinner that night for all of our travelers. And then on day 8, we take you back to from your hotel to the Anchorage airport and send you on your way home. And that itinerary starts at $22.49 per person, and it's about $150 in taxes. Then we also have a slightly shorter version of this, and this is a 6-day Alaska Explorer. And this one, we arrive into Fairbanks. We transfer over into our hotels and overnight there in Fairbanks, which is the heart of the interior. On day 2, we do some sightseeing. We do a riverboat cruise there, and we also go to the University of Alaska Fairbanks Museum. But we get an awful lot of opportunity to just see the history of the area. In day 3, we do Fairbanks down to Denali. We do this by motor coach, and we go through the Tanana River Valley, travel through the small community, and we learn about their ice classic. According to my notes, Alaska's only legalized form of gambling. And then we'll tour into Denali National Park along the Park Road, and we'll be looking out for the Big Five again. On day 4, we're Denali National Park back to Talkeetna. We have a continental breakfast in the morning. And you have the morning time off to explore the park, and then we'll hop a luxury dome rail car for the trip down to Talkeetna, a quaint historic village nestled at the confluence of 3 glacially fed rivers. So all of that sounds really exciting. Talkeetna to Anchorage is day 5. Here we board a motor coach for that journey. We're always keeping our eyes open for wildlife. You get mountains, rivers, lakes, flora, and fauna. They make the trip scenic and enjoyable. We transfer you over to your hotel, and then tonight you get to tell all the different stories of your trip with your fellow travelers as you join in a farewell dinner this evening. The next day we'll hook you up over to the airport. You can say goodbye to your Alaskan adventure and head back to your home city. So a couple of really neat curated type adventures, one 6-day, one 8. This one, the 6-day is about $12.99 per person plus $150 in taxes. But all of these are carried out by one of our travel partners in the Alaska area, nightly tours. But we also have opportunity to leverage others as well. So Ed and Tia have done such a great job. I have to say, do we have any questions that you guys want to ask?
I have a question for you, Jim.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what the origin story behind that ice classic in Nenana, the tripod, is?
I have no idea.
So the Nenana Ice Classic is that gambling bit that Jim was talking about, and that dates back to when they were building the railroad. Nenana was one of those points where the riverboats would bring all the supplies up so they can build the railroad. And so what that would happen is that they would start setting up there in late March, early April, and they would have to wait for the river to break in order to get their supplies. And so the people waiting for the river to break was like, I'll bet you that it's going to break on this day at this time. And that was the very beginning of the Nenana Ice Classic. Every year now they put a tripod in the middle of the frozen river, and they put a little string with a pin on a clock on it. So once that thing breaks through and it pulls the pin, that's the official day and time that the river broke, and that's when you declare your winner.
Really? See, I knew all that. I wanted you guys to be able. That's fascinating. I had no idea.
Oh yeah,
My family
absolutely.
does it every time. Every
Really?
time.
Do they have
We-
betting on it?
Closest 5 minutes is our closest, so we're getting there. But
I
yeah.
think
So
the biggest payout was $350,000. What was that? 5 years ago, Tia? 4 years ago?
Mhm.
It
I
was
think
pretty
so, yeah.
recent.
So you bet on a particular time,
A day
And
and
day.
time.
a
Yep.
day and time.
My
Is it
uncle
down to
was
the
like off by down to the minute, I think, right, Tia?
Down to
minute?
the minute. Yeah.
That's
My
pretty
uncle
exciting.
was like 15 minutes off one year. We were really, really excited for him.
Can I mail in a bet for that?
Actually, yeah, you can go online and pick
yeah.
up tickets if you want. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
All right, Michelle, that's what we're doing.
Jim, I got a question.
Yeah, man.
Can I get your phone number, please?
Yes. 678 438 3330.
3330. Just want to ask you some logistical questions, probably tomorrow.
That'll be fine.
Great, thank you.
Michelle, any questions? Jackie, any questions?
Well, I had questions about the fishing in Anchorage. Are
Mhm.
there like overnight, not overnight trips, but where you could stay at a lodge and fish a few days?
Yes, we have quite a variety of those. So whether you just want to go out for the day fishing, like I mentioned, we have the busiest float plane airport in the world because we have 3 million lakes here in Alaska. So a lot of those planes are getting to these beautiful remote places in Alaska where a lot of fish run. So whether you're going for salmon or maybe you want to go for trout or grayling or out on a boat in the waters of Prince William Sound or out of Seward or Homer and go for halibut, or
Halibut,
rockfish
yeah.
or lingcod, or drop a shrimp pot down and get some shrimp. So
Oh,
lots
okay.
of
And they ship it
wide
out for
range
you?
from half day to 3 days to remote to just down in downtown Anchorage. So
They'll ship it out for you as well?
they will, yeah. In fact, I just picked up some people from Florida and they said their neighbor just came back from Alaska and they had all this fresh fish sent back to their home. They had 150 pounds of fresh fish sent
Nice.
to Florida from Alaska. So yeah,
Hope it made it
So-
home frozen.
it did. Yeah, you have to FedEx it to make sure,
Yeah.
but it's amazing.
One other question. I'm a rookie for Alaska. I've only been there once. Jackie's been there 14 times. She can tell you fishing stories all over the place. But the trip we're curating, I love that word, for our potential clients is going from Anchorage up to Denali and actually from Sitka over to Anchorage, up to Denali, back to Anchorage, and then home. And we're doing that for them. We're building that for them post a cruise that's disembarking in Sitka. And it's going to be about 4 days. I think, Jackie, am I right? Is it 4 days? I mean, from the time they get off the ship, it might be 4 days, possibly 5. And I'm just curious, without going into any detail about what we've been designing for them, is that enough time? Would any of you say that we're making a mistake? Is it okay? It doesn't matter. Everything is good as long as it's being done, or do you have a point of view about how much time to design a trip like that? Again,
I
ignore
always
the
think there's
Sitka
never
to
enough time to
Anchorage.
explore Alaska, right? So you got to do a couple
Yeah.
trips. 'Cause there's
Right,
so
of
much land
course.
to explore. But
Right,
Get them
of
back
course.
next
course,
the
a
following
couple
year.
nights in each place is always the best. Like if you had 3 nights here, 3 nights in Denali, 3 nights Fairbanks, it's because there's so much travel time, right? So you don't want to
Right.
spend your
It's
whole
spread apart.
Alaska just driving, right?
But
I mean,
you
it's
can't-
beautiful. It's
you-
very
you
scenic,
can't-
but how much are you going to explore? So
You can't ignore Ed over there. I mean, you can't just go to Denali and go south, man. You got
Well,
to
it
keep going
happens.
north.
Well, a lot of people that come on the cruise, they typically don't have, an extra 8-7 days to tack onto that. So
Right.
we understand, we get it. I mean, because you need to spend that time in Anchorage and Seward and all those places there because they're very different than the interior because just, you have rainforest in the south and then you have Arctic desert on the top. I mean, we have everything ranging from rainforest to desert in our state. So you're
Right.
going to get a different view and a different flavor, but 4 to 5 days off of Sitka into that area, you're getting to Denali at best because you need at least spend a day or two in Anchorage to set up to Denali for a night or two, make sure you're getting that park tour, but then by then you run out of time, you got to come back and leave. But if you can extend up to 7 to 8 days, then it's easy enough to make your way up to Fairbanks. And Fairbanks International Airport has connectivity to get you back to Seattle at the very least, but Anchorage does have a lot more connectivity from their airport to various places
Right.
in the States.
Sure.
We only have Seattle
Right.
year round, plus the aforementioned airlift that was on that previous list.
Sure.
Ed, I don't want you to feel left out. We were talking with some people who were wanted to see the Northern Lights.
Right.
So we were thinking Anchorage, like late August, early September, and covering it that way. We figured, and that was a question I had. When is the best time to see the Northern Lights? I know it starts in late August.
Right. It depends on what your clients want to do during the day. It really does. And the further north you go, the better you're going to have a chance of seeing it. You
Mhm.
can see them from Anchorage. There's 100% anywhere in Alaska you can see them. But the further north you go, closer to the Arctic Circle and beyond, because the Arctic Circle is about where they're actually coming out properly.
Mhm.
So from Fairbanks, we're looking at about a 45-degree angle. But if you go up above the Arctic Circle, you're looking directly above yourself. Whereas Anchorage
Okay.
is more like a 35, 25-degree angle.
Mhm.
But so if they want to do dog sledding, ice fishing, and all those winter things, February and March for
February,
sure.
March.
And
Okay.
again, you could start in Anchorage, make your way up north to Fairbanks for roar viewing, or start roar viewing, and make your way south to Anchorage because we have events that are going on around that time as well.
Mhm.
But if they don't want to come in the winter time, if they still want to see that summer product, late August, early September, because that first week of September is when the leaves start changing colors. It only takes about a week. It's a very fleeting fall, and it just drops to the ground, and then we're just basically gearing up and ready for winter at that point. So,
Mhm.
So if you
Okay,
go
thank
to my YouTube channel, it's Jimmy D Travel, Cruise Planners Jimmy D Travel. Ed and Tia did a Northern Lights presentation that we recorded and dropped out there. And they go through in great detail with a lot of photo evidence, exactly what you can see and things to do
Could you
during
say that YouTube site again?
it's Cruise Planners Jimmy D Travel.
Okay.
But they
It's
did a
wonderful.
fabulous job on that. And there's not a wrong season to go to Alaska, and there's not. I mean, all of them are right seasons to go to Alaska.
well, I will say this: October and April, they're not our strongest seasons.
Yeah.
There are plenty of things to see and do. Don't get me wrong. That you can come here and fill an entire week with stuff to do, especially if you're hitting Fairbanks and Anchorage. But it's not our most flattering time of year because in October, leaves have fallen, all of the summer activities have ended, and we're starting that transition into winter. And it's before the snow has fallen, so you don't have winter activities yet. And on the converse side, in April, the snow is starting to melt. We have what we call a breakup season, where all of the rivers start breaking up, and all of the stuff that's flown out of trucks and onto the side of the road starts to show a bit. We have cleanup days multiple times throughout the year to make sure that we're cleaning it up and making it nice and pretty for everyone to enjoy. So those are the 2 months that, although you can come to see them, they are not the most active and they are not the most sought after times to come up here. But I will just say, I'll just throw that out for you.
I'm
Totally
listening,
agree. 100%.
listening to the three of you. It's like Jackie and I are New Yorkers. So listening to you guys go on about Alaska, I want to make up a corollary of New York. And I want to do a cultural exchange. All the dangers of Alaska, the dangers of the Bronx, getting on the subway, who not to touch or to look at. I mean, wouldn't that be a great video to do?
That would be
That'd be great.
amazing. Sign me up. I've
Point
been to New York.
counterpoint.
I love New York. I'm totally down for that.
Hey guys, we're a bit over an hour, and I just really appreciate the time that Tia and Ed have put into this, and the expertise that they bring, and the willingness to help us out. And guys, I just thank you so much. And folks,
Yeah,
if
thank
if you're looking to go to Alaska, Cruise Planners agents know a lot about it, and we have great resources like Tia and Ed, and would just love to have your business. So I want to say goodnight from Jimmy D Travel and Cruise Planners, and we just hope that you'll come make your memories and moments with us.
We'll give you a call tomorrow. Thank